Good morning and welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Josh, and we're excited to have you with us here watching, whether it's through GoToWebinar or some exciting news. You could be listening to this on our new podcast, which is available from the podcast app on your iPhone.
Yeah, it's exciting. I listen to podcasts all the time, so I'm excited to be part of that culture now.
Yeah, so moving forward, all the morning shows will be available on there. So if you don't get to catch us live, for whatever reason, you can always listen in your car or wherever you like to listen to podcasts at. And so one of the things that's sort of visual as part of the show that you won't be able to necessarily hear on the podcast is our look of the week.
Yes.
We can talk through, but we have a really cool look of the week this week. Let's share that with the viewers.
Yeah, so this is this week's look of the week by Brandy Flemmer of So Successful. The reason I picked this look is because it is all glitter flakes. So there's a lot of precision and intricacy that goes on into this design. It's kind of a lace-like effect on the pirate and pink, and I'm just impressed.
Yeah, a couple of things I like about this, for those of you that can't see it, is Brandy did a word mark called Pirate Pink with the awareness ribbon for the eye in pink. So number one, we're swapping out sort of a text element for clip art that still gives you the effect. There's an extremely detailed design within that that's been weeded and layered sort of in contrasting colors of fluorescent pink and silver glitter flake. And then you can tell this is for a basketball tournament or basketball event because you have an orange Hoops for a Cause with a basketball clip art added as well. And not only is it a really cool front design, but Brandy leveraged a secondary placement, once again swapping out the awareness ribbon, this time for a G on the word together down the sleeve. So we are using a lot of materials, we are hitting different placements, and this is probably a bit of a weeding nightmare, I'll be honest, but a great finished look nonetheless.
Definitely, and utilizing those three colors of glitter flake, none of those are direct layered, which is impressive to me, so there's a lot of opportunity for profit there. So if you have a look of the week, be sure to submit it via email, Facebook, or Instagram in order to win. So not only do you get featured on our show, but you get a box of cool stuff to your door.
Yeah, a box of cool stuff. So I think Zach put me on the spot a couple weeks ago and said, well, what do they win? And so we basically assemble a surprise box here at Stahls TV, and we send that out to you. So it is worth submitting. And it's certainly fun to tune in on Facebook to the Stahls TV Show and Tell thread every Saturday to see almost hundreds of submissions. This
week there were over 100 looks, and I enjoyed looking through all of them.
Yeah, and so something we've been doing in addition to Look of the Week is teaching you concepts here on the Stahls TV Morning Show, where we're actually coming up with projects that are sort of different to inspire you. And with that, we want to roll into this edition of Make It Monday. Welcome to today's installment of Make It Monday, and I'm excited. I'm gathered near the Fusion Heat Press, which is one of my favorite presses. And today, not only am I going to show you a couple techniques, but I'm going to show you some cool blank apparel and some ideas perhaps for decorating for Easter or other holidays, for not necessarily a mommy and me look, but a little girl and a doll look where you can pair things together with pajamas. So number one, I'll start by swinging away my Hotronix Fusion Heat Press, and I'm going to be utilizing a heat printing pillow for the first part of this Make It Monday project. So I'll start with the pillow on the press, and then I'm going to grab a garment. This is a pajama top for my daughter that's been supplied by ARB Blanks, which is a great supplier for these trendier items. So it's ARB Blanks. I'll start by laying that onto the press. And then I could easily change the platen, but I wanted to show you the pillow technique because the seams and basically the garment sinks down into the pillow to give me a flat pressing area, especially where I have these seams that it is a little more difficult to get rid of for my placement. And today's episode in general has a theme of layering or multicolor designs, and so I'm going to do a multicolor application on this. But first, when I load that item, I want to make sure I test my pressure by locking down the press, because I have a pillow in. Right now it's reading at a 9, which is a very heavy pressure, so I'm going to reduce the pressure a little bit and bring it down to a 6, which is a medium pressure. During that process, not only did I test my pressure for the heat printing pillow, but I've preheated the garment, and we've cut a design out of fashion film, which is our top selling heat transfer film from Stahls for lightweight looks. It's going to be a great product on this shirt because it's going to feel light on the garment. And I'll start by heat applying this fashion film down and teaching you a technique that we often show here, which is just tacking it down for a few seconds for a background layer. Hot peeling the backing, basically it just falls away. And now I'm going to add a name drop to that. So in this case, I've cut my daughter's name. Her name is Madeline, but she goes by Maddie. So we've cut her name in script. We've done some techniques in the design process, like welding this script together so it looks nice and clean in the design. We've added a little hair bow to the bunny face, replaced the bunny nose with a heart, just to make it a little more trendy. And as you can see, I have fashion film directly exposed to the heater. So I'm going to take a piece of craft paper to cover that so it doesn't hit the heater. And something else you'll notice is I have the Mylar carrier sort of overlapping the fashion film. So for those of you just listening and not watching, basically I have a portion of the carrier that's overlapping the background design. And when that happens, I just want to tack that again for a few seconds to get that carrier away. That way it doesn't leave a permanent indent across the background design. So if you've ever had that Mylar mark or that indent, the trick is you just want to tack it down, get the carrier away, and then I'm going to complete both layers for the full application, which in this case, 320 degrees, 15 seconds to complete that look. All the carriers have already been peeled, so what you're looking at now as you're watching is a completed design. But we don't want to stop there. So next we're going to take this, which by the way has been ordered with pajama pants to complement it. So it's the perfect outfit where it has the very trendy sort of striped pajama pants that go with it that are very popular in children's apparel right now. Things like stripes, polka dots, ruffles are always popular. Now I'm going to load the smaller garment and show you a couple techniques with that. So for those of you listening, we just heat pressed a child size 8 pajamas. I'm swapping out the 16 by 20 heat press platen. I could easily use the heat printing pillow for this as well on the standard platen, but I want to drop in a little 4x4 attachment, which is going to give me a small isolated print area. Basically a little 4-inch attachment is going to allow me to undo the doll shirt, which is sized for like an 18-inch size doll, which everybody knows is the popular American Girl style doll. At least if you have a daughter or a granddaughter, you probably know that. I'm going to start with a preheat on this and check my pressure. Once again, the supplier of the matching set of the 18-inch doll pajamas and the kids' pajamas is ARB Blanks. I'm only running this at a 1 pressure because that 16 by 20 pressure is applying down to a smaller surface. So I want to cut my pressure down so I don't over apply it and perhaps leave a heat press mark or damage my garment. And likewise, I've taken the same design and I'm going to position it down. I'm going to start with the glitter flake this time for the background. I've basically just inversed the colors of the glitter flake and fashion film choices. Tack it down for a second, peel away the carrier, drop in my fashion film customization. In this case, for those of you that are able to see it, it says Leah, which was the doll of the year for last year. Tack it down for just a few seconds. Actually, I messed up. I could have tacked it down for a few seconds because I was worried about this Mylar mark. But in the case of glitter flake being the background, glitter flake's not going to show a mark in it. Typically just the flat films do. So I actually don't have to worry about that tack down step when it's overlapping glitter. I can just give it the full setting and not worry about that for the 15 seconds. And as you can see, as it's counting down, we got the matching pajama pants here as well for the doll. So this is a nice gift set. It's a nice money-making opportunity for you to merchandise to your customers, especially if you sell on your Facebook page or promote products on your Facebook page. We can get a very nice looking matching set of not only the kid shirt, and now we have the doll shirt and the pajamas. So hopefully this inspired you. Once again, the supplier is ARB Blanks, and thanks for tuning in to this edition of Make It Monday.
Thank you, Josh, for that awesome design. I love the idea of not just doing companion looks with mommy and me, but even baby and her doll. So that's really sweet that you did that for Maddie.
Yeah, one of the things that was really cool is we just went to a dance competition this past weekend, and she actually has a dance this year with her doll that she's able to do it. They've choreographed, so I think hopefully she's not watching this episode. She shouldn't be because she's in school. But hopefully that she'll be surprised for Easter for this look. But I think it's a look that our customers, our viewers can really use and sell.
Definitely. So on to today's topic. This Make It Monday had a good intro to that, as well as the look of the week. So just so there are every sides to two stories, I think there's two sides to our topic this week, which is layering. So layering heat transfer vinyl or layering heat transfer vinyl on top of other medias is what we're going to talk about today. And we have to obviously talk about the technical aspects, how we're layering, the different techniques that go into that, but there's also the profit opportunities, which is one of the big reasons that you'd want to layer heat transfer vinyl.
Yeah, it creates really cool looks, which typically can drive more profit potential, especially when you talk about mixing and matching different materials like we did on those garments with glitter and basic finishes, or even adding in metallics and reflectives and foils. There's a lot of sort of mixed media applications that you can do to increase profitability. But on the other side of that is you have to consider when you layer, at least with heat transfer vinyl, you're also effectively doubling your cost at each step of the process.
Yeah, so you're doubling your time at the press, you're doubling the vinyl cutting aspect, obviously heat applying it. So with that double work and double cost, you're going to have to obviously charge more for your design, which definitely isn't a bad thing.
No, I think it represents an opportunity. Anytime we can take the same customer and increase the value of the garment that we're selling them, we're going to deliver more profit back to the business, as long as we're capturing those costs appropriately and passing those on. And so some of the things, when you start to talk about layering, the reason why not every shop does it is because there can be challenges. I think it's easy with the right techniques, but it's certainly not sort of what you do as soon as you get your vinyl cutter and your heat press. You want to make sure you understand what to look for. And so we've outlined sort of, it's not even a top 10, there's probably like 15 or 20 considerations and discussion points here that we want to point out when you talk about layering. First of which is layering material at different temperatures.
Yeah, so every material in Stahls lineup has a different temperature and application settings. So firm pressures, medium pressures, time, temp. So you're going to want to, when you're choosing the materials that you're layering, to take those into consideration and see what you can pair together if the temperatures line up in a good way. And this is, like Josh said, something that you're not going to do right out of the box. So this is a kind of unique area to get into once you've gotten a little more experience with your pressing. So taking these things into consideration on top of everything that you're already doing. Yeah,
and so you want to pick materials that are somewhere in the range of layerability. So for instance, you don't want something that applies at 380 degrees and then something at 280. That 100 degrees is a pretty large variance, but as long as you're within 30, 40 degrees of each other, materials can typically be combined, and I would always recommend erring on the higher temperature for the longest time. So for instance, when you're combining like fashion film with glitter flake, I want to make sure if fashion film requires 320 degrees for 15 seconds, at some point in the process, that fashion film needs to receive that 320 degrees for 15 seconds.
What we normally do on those applications is by using the tacking method. So if you tuned into Make It Monday earlier, you saw we tacked to obviously eliminate that mark in the vinyl. We call it a mylar or carrier mark. And by doing this, we can get the materials on there as fast as possible, eliminate some of the shrinkage that could happen, some of the stretching that could happen, and get those two colors right on there.
Yeah, the tack does a few things for you. Number one is it speeds up the process, making it more efficient, so you're not really doubling your labor at the heat press. It's pretty close to double, but you can move through a little bit quicker. Also, it does limit the shrinking, which makes alignment easier, which is going to give you better quality. and it fixes the Mylar mark. So you'll have to break the rules of your heat transfer film when you're doing this. So if you're buying a heat transfer film, try tacking it down for a few seconds, hot peeling the carrier, and see if that works. That's really the optimal material style and functionality. If you're going to be doing a lot of layering, that helps. Now, something else to consider is what can really be used for layer. Can I layer all materials, or are there some certain rule set or restrictions?
Yeah, there are definitely rules on what you can layer. Not every vinyl can be layered, so you're going to have to take these considerations. But Stahls actually has a material combination chart on their website. This is something, if you just go to stahls.com, you can either go onto the products page, or you can click into their resources and find this chart. But it has everything that can be a foreground layer, meaning that goes in the front, maybe the second step of the application, or what could be a background layer, the base of your design.
Yeah, and some general best practices if you're not using, if you're just looking and don't want to go to the combination chart. Basically, we always recommend you never use glitter flake as a background layer. There are ways to get a layered look without actually direct layering. We're going to share those with you here in a moment. We also recommend that you stay away from layering with PVC or polyvinyl chloride-based materials. Actually, I recommend you stay away from those materials, period, because they're not safe for children's apparel either. So polyurethane-based materials are going to be much friendlier with putting layer on layer and combining. And really, when it comes down to it, follow the manufacturer's recommendation. Ask them, check their website. Are these products that can be layered? Now,
yeah, you mentioned glitter flake. So glitter flake is one of those materials that we've gotten to get a little bit creative with the way that we're layering it. And I actually have a blog post, faux layering glitter flake, because you're not supposed to use that as a background layer. It's got kind of a rough surface, so the adhesive can't get down on that properly. But going away from that, we can talk about direct layering and all of those materials that can be laid directly on top of each other.
Yeah, and so I think, at this point, it might be nice to, let's point out the basic, I think, 3 different styles of layering that we've identified, sort of putting them into buckets and categories. So you mentioned direct layering. For those of you watching, you see an example here of fashion film in 2 colors. It would show direct layers. For those of you listening, basically what we're looking at here is we have a full background layer of fashion film. We have the full word, nothing punched out from the text, and then the foreground that's in black fashion film is going to apply directly down on top of it, touching all parts of the background layer, and it's really full layer of neon pink underneath a full layer of black fashion film. And we would call this direct layering. And really the benefit of this, it's probably the easiest because it's not a real tight registration. When you're lining up the foreground, you have a little bit of room for error. And then also, if you're just starting, it's probably the easiest way to go. But the negatives, you start to build up some bulk in it.
You do, yeah, so like you mentioned, it's easy. You're saving time on the heat press, you're saving artwork time because you don't have to create anything special. But if you are getting into some thicker materials, or even if you're going toward maybe a 3-color look, you don't want to have a lot of vinyl on a shirt. People don't like that kind of hard feel. So doing other techniques to get away from that, or maybe just doing 2 thin layers of direct layering, is definitely the way to go, and especially now that garments are trending more toward lightweight feels.
Yeah, so the way to execute that, we call it generically trapping. So there's a bunch of variations of that. I think one of the best examples that we've done is what you did for, I guess, National Pizza Day, right, on the blog. So for those of you watching, we're looking at a 5-color design that's looks like it's layered out of fashion film and fashion film electric, but actually, if you look closer, the background areas are knocked out. Now, as long as you're good at registration, you can pull off this look, but you do run the risk of a little bit of shirt showing through here. You see the little bit of white showing through where we didn't perfectly line those up. I think this is totally acceptable and sellable, but the concept here is this is trapping. Basically, I'm knocking out all the background, so every heat transfer film layer is actually not on another film. It's in contact with the background garment, which should give me an overall lighter weight feel versus building these up.
Right, and this is something that you want to consider. So this design's more messy, kind of fun. Having that show through isn't really a big deal. If you're doing something maybe corporate, you're going to want to go a different route than this trapping method, just so it looks more finished and professional.
Yeah, and to that point, just before we move from there, 5 colors, that's a lot.
It's a
right?
lot, yeah.
And you may have heard the printer talking to us earlier in the episode beside. We're in a new studio here this morning that we had to switch out because of some technical difficulties, but that printer is basically wanting to chime into this layering conversation because when you're doing basic colors, there is another method for getting 3-color, 4-color, 5-color design, and that method is print cut. And so the idea that instead of cutting single color layers of vinyl for like a 3-color number or a 5-color design, if it's a basic finish or a metallic finish where there's a base media available, the idea that a printer can actually print down any amount of colors that you want, and then you still only have one single layer. So if you start to get into a lot of high color count artwork, really a print cut machine such as a VersaCam or digital transfers may be a better option for you. But this isn't going to give you the glitter effect, some of those other effects.
Yeah, so when it's just a matte, like you said, 3-color look, it's definitely easier to do that. It's less time and less work to have a print cut. But if you're going more toward the special effects finishes, the glitter, the metallics, you're going to want to include heat transfer vinyl, and layering is the only way you can do that. I actually want to show
a couple more on the trapping method.
A couple more on the trapping method. So this material here is glitter flake, which, like we said earlier, cannot be direct layered. So here it is lined up almost seamlessly. It gives the illusion of being layered without actually layering. So by this method, we're able to get that 2-color look directly on top, and there's no garment show through here.
Yeah, so just keep on that angle here. I'll pull in this example. And this shows just the raw components. Basically, for those of you listening, we have a full background design with Love Dance with a big heart, basically cookie cuttered, is that a word? Probably not. But basically punched out with a cookie cutter shape in the middle where we are dropping in the heart. So once again, heart is coming in contact with the garment. And then we sort of take the next iteration of this look over to when you wouldn't want to apply rhinestones on top of a glitter material for fear of the rhinestones falling out. This one was created with a knockout method where rhinestones are coming in contact with the garment and the glitter is coming in contact with the garment for a seamless look. And we have tons of tutorials on Stahls TV about how to do the knockout method, different design techniques for layering.
Yeah, knockout method is typically used for typography, which if you went into any of our trend classes, you know is really trending in 2017. Okay,
so the sort of third technique of layering, and I believe one of the best techniques is something that generically is called garment gap or garment show through. Basically, you're leveraging the garment as a color. And so an example of that would be something like this, where the design says, "You're stressing me out," and it has a picture of a cat and 3 colors of heat transfer film. But rather than have the text overlay directly on top of the cat clip art, we've basically punched out a little bit of a garment gap or an outline around the text. And what that does, it doesn't put so much pressure on the heat press operator to register everything exactly perfect, because it's designed for the garment to show through as part of creating the layers. So it's not direct layered, but it's a great way to execute a multicolor design. And the shirt directly below it here, same concept, where we've left a garment gap in between the numbering and its outline. So it's a great way to start to execute layering techniques is by utilizing a garment gap or garment show through. It makes the registration at the heat press a lot easier for the operator.
Yeah, it does. You, instead of getting that accidental white show through, you're doing this intentionally with the thought of it's going to be lighter weight and it's going to be easier to line up. So those are just 2 of the really big benefits of doing gap outlines.
Yeah, and lighter weight is a great point. So anytime you have garment coming through, it's going to make the overall look and feel lighter for whoever's wearing it, which is a great selling point of utilizing that garment gap. So I think that covers, unless I'm missing something, a lot of sort of our layering tips. Some of the others that I believe is when you start to mix and match different finishes. We did it a bit with glitter and rhinestones, but the idea of heat transfer films on screen printed transfers, or single color heat transfer films onto digital transfers, as is in this case, where we have the glitter on top of a print cut digital background.
This digital background's been done a few times where that white was actually removed and the glitter flake was lined in there. But I like this one because it has less work associated with it. So you're just printing one big sheet. You don't have to weed twice, just weed around it and then add that glitter flake dropped in.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out regarding sort of mixing and matching different technologies for our viewers and listeners is that you're going to have to test some of this on your own. Your manufacturer is not going to be able to say this heat transfer film works with this screen printing ink, works with this screen printed transfer.
Yeah.
So as a decorator, sort of push the boundaries. There's some major advantages, both competitively with having cool looks with less competition, and then really from an efficiency standpoint. For instance, you know, I've done shirts before where I did a crazy sort of splatter screen printed transfer background that I press down and then I bring just a name drop or a year over top in glitter flake. And the reception to those sorts of mixed media looks has been phenomenal, but you do need to test them yourself, meaning decorate one, wash it before selling it for durability.
And that brings up another point. Maybe if you're not savvy to heat transfer vinyl and you have a screen printing shop, or you do maybe even direct embroidery with the Ripaway applique, or you know, there's all of the other print medias can be mixed with heat transfer vinyl using these layering techniques, like you said, as long as you test them.
So I got a rhetorical question for you.
Okay.
If I'm a decorator, what's a cool way that I can try new concepts and looks on a monthly basis?
Well,
that's the lob.
You go.
That's the Project Press It subscription box. No, but seriously, this is something we're really excited about at Stahls TV. Actually, we have a huge stack of these out in our lobby here that's getting ready to ship out tomorrow to those that have subscribed to Project Press It. And to explain what this is a box that includes a monthly project that not only is designed to help you learn a concept of a print technique, but also designed to help you reach a new market and grow your sales. So by subscribing to this Project Press It subscription box, you can do a month-to-month subscription for $24.99. It's on an introductory offer right now. Or you can do an annual subscription, which brings the monthly cost down to $19.99. Basically, you get a project every month delivered to your business. And with that project comes a tutorial video and an index card on how to execute it. There's marketing assets such as a video that you can utilize on Facebook to reach that market, a sales guide.
Photography,
yeah, you help with that, right? And we try to just put everything that you would want in that box as far as reaching a new market and growing your business. So,
and not only what you want, but what you need.
What you need, yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And they can go to Stahls TV. You can go to stahlstv.com/subscribe to learn more about this. Watch a video that sort of outlines a sample box for you. We're already shipping the January subscription boxes right now, and so now we're accepting subscribers up until March 15th, at which point the second box ever from Stahls TV will ship.
Yeah, I'm excited for this because it's definitely a box of ideas. We like to share new and exciting things with you guys, and this is just one of the ways we can do that monthly.
Okay, and so for those of you joining us on the Stahls TV Morning Show, we thank you. Next week, I'll be joined by Jenna here on the Morning Show, and we're going to talk a lot about artwork. So if there's any way, if you're listening to this, if you can log in live to view it or watch the recording on stahlstv.com, next week it's going to be a very visual episode on artwork. Thanks for watching the Stahls TV Morning Show.